So look, I know there's an awful lot of information going around at the moment just about ways to boost your immunity. And don't get me wrong, they absolutely all have their place. What I want to offer you today is just a glimpse into what this really means on a more physiological level and how really grasping an understanding of our bodies can transform our health. So rest assured you'll walk away from today really knowing your body, really knowing how to better support your immune system, or that inner glow as I like to call it, with these simple self-care rituals that you can easily and effectively incorporate into day-to-day life. And this is super simple stuff, really cost-effective stuff, which is so important given the current climate and lots of people losing their jobs or their income. So yeah, let's just dive right in there. Here are some of the words that are kind of being thrown around a lot at the moment, which I too really resonate with. This idea of being fearful or anxious or overwhelmed or restless or just uncertain about the future. Who here resonates with this? And who here feels a little helpless about what to do for the best right now? Absolutely. And who here is feeling pretty tip-top and simply grateful to be alive right now? Brilliant, I love your energy. You guys are the glue that holds the rest of us together at the moment for sure. Well, I'm excited to say if you commit to the next 40 minutes or so, I'll be revealing my most favoured self-care tools to lift and shift that cloud that's weighing so heavily on some of us at the moment. Okay, so I have a pretty bold promise for you guys. By the end of this webinar or this video, you're going to be able to tap into your innate healing potential and supercharge your immune system whilst polishing that inner glow. Sounds pretty good, right? And you know what's extra special about this current situation? That we're all being blessed with the time and space to actually weave in a beautiful self-care routine into our daily lives. So every cloud. So for those of you who don't know me, I won't hop on for too long, I promise. I'm Kimberly, acupuncturist here in Sheffield and clinic director at Life and Lemon's Integrative Health Clinic, hopefully reopening for all your health care needs very soon. So Life and Lemons actually started with a simple seed of an idea to empower my patients with the tools and techniques to take treatment beyond the treatment table. So often we get fixated on what we need to do to feel better, to do better and to be better. Be it yoga or therapeutic treatment, we're always looking externally for those solutions. And it's always someone else that can fix us, right? Because we don't know enough, or we're not experienced enough, or we're not confident enough. Sounds familiar, hey? And I know this because I've been there. In fact, I still am. And self-care really isn't easy, but with time, patience, and a big smooch of self-love, slowly these transient moments of care become habit. Unconscious and knowing states of mind whereby we all take a step back, take a breath, and give back to ourselves as we give to others. And there are so many tools and techniques that we have at our fingertips right now. If only we were to dig a little deeper and reveal these kind of truths within ourselves, rather than fulfilling this perpetuating cycle of self-sabotage. So Life and Lemons was born from the knowledge that our health is in our hands and that we have the power to create positive and sustainable changes to our own health. And in the words of the legendary Tony Robbins, all I need is within me now, and it's so, so true. So by combining my love for all things Chinese medicine, I'm creating a growing collection of self-care techniques to share with those strong, courageous folk of the world who are currently struggling to navigate this really difficult time. Folk that so readily give their love and attention to others, but who are perhaps guilty of not reflecting on their own personal needs. So my mission is to empower you and hundreds of other people like you who are looking to reveal their inner glow. And not just optimize their immune system, but bloody revel in every second of it as well, supporting and healing their body in the process. Cool, well let's get to the juicy stuff then. This one is worth writing down. there is one key thing that you're going to take away from today that will get you to where you want to be. And the one thing you need to be doing right now is giving yourself time to simply breathe. I know this sounds too easy and really too good to be true, and I know I really hear you, but just taking a moment to check in with yourself. When was the last time you took a deep belly breath that wasn't a sigh at your partner or your kids or your cat, for example, like it would be for me? I mean, we so often hold tension in our tummy, in our chest, in our diaphragm, and this causes to take these short little breaths that really don't serve us in any way and cause lots of tension in the neck. So a situation whereby we want to support our lungs and boost our overall general health, isn't breathing somewhat essential? So I just want to take a moment, wherever you're at, be it sat in a chair, cooking, put that wooden spoon down for a moment and place one hand over your lower abdomen and one hand over your heart. And I want you just to reconnect with your breath. So begin by taking 3 full, slow, deep breaths. Inhale and exhale fully. Noticing that rise and fall of your tummy as you breathe deep into your lower abdomen. To start, just sit and notice your breath coming in through your nose and going out again. When any thoughts come up, just notice them and let them go, without judgment or trying to stop them. Like waves, just allow them to come and go. Just notice and bring your focus back to your breath. I like to think of these thoughts to be smoky whispers on the wind. And with each deep breath in, we inhale pure light. And with every exhale, allows us to let go of those smoky grey whispers. Just watch them as they slowly dissipate. The deeper we engage with that exhale. Knowing that thoughts are transient, and we can let them go as quickly as they arise. Notice that how that pure white light we're breathing in washes over us with every inhale and warms the body like you've just given yourself a big bear hug. And now just bringing yourself back to center and fluttering those lashes of yours open. Notice how different you can feel simply by slowing down, taking a moment and just simply giving yourself space to breathe. And if you take nothing else away from today, which I really hope you do, it would be this. And this exercise itself is so important for all the self-care techniques that I'll be sharing with you throughout the rest of today. The breath sets the foundation for that positive psychological and physiological shift within us. So let's cover briefly what we'll be going over today then. So the physiology of the stress response and its impact on our immune system. I'm all about knowledge and empowerment, and I truly believe that long-term sustainable change isn't possible without actually knowing the intricacies of our body. So we'll be touching on the physiology just briefly about the stress and immune response. And it's like, we know not to eat chocolate all the time, but none of us are going to ditch the dairy milk if we don't actually know the physical long-term effects of that. Well, perhaps chocolate might be a bad example, as it is perhaps my secret vice, but I hope you get the general idea anyway. So if we know how stress impacts our bodies on a deep cellular level, how much more inclined would we be to stick to these self-care rituals? And there's a lovely sage-like quote here for you to ponder on. The best defense humans have against pathogens is not isolation, it's information, which is quite relevant right now. So drumming home the importance of knowledge. And secondly, I will be touching on how we reflect on immunity, qi, and the lungs in Chinese medicine. Traditional Chinese medicine offers such a poetic reflection on our physical selves and paints a beautiful picture of our interconnectedness. Western medicine is quite reductionist in its approach and thinks of things in quite separate boxes that often need troubleshooting. Whereas in Chinese medicine, it's much more holistic, so nothing is separate and everything weaves into one another. So we'll be exploring this concept in greater detail as much as possible, relating stress and immunity to those kind of key organ systems in Chinese medicine. And finally, those all-important self-care techniques that I mentioned to you before. Self-care techniques like acupressure. And trust me, there are over 360 standard acupoints on the body, not including the microsystems and other variants of practice, which of course I can't teach you all in just a single hour, but I'll be sharing 3 of my favourite acupressure points to help boost energy and immunity. I'll be showing you the exact point locations, plus the most wonderful way for you to effectively stimulate these acupoints quickly and easily, so they're easily integrated into your daily routine. Wherever you are and whatever you have going on, so again, no excuses. Of course, there are other points and other techniques to activate acupoints, qi and channels, but I'm aware we're running out of time, so I just want to move on to our next section. So let's dive into physiology and the stress response and how it impacts our immunity. So for most of us, stress is just a part of life, and it can last for a few hours, or it can last for a few days, a few years. But our stress response can be a great motivator that helps drive us into doing or achieving, like sprinting off some blocks as soon as you hear that gun go off. And that rise and surge in adrenaline and cortisol, our stress hormones, at this time allows us to be able to thrive and survive. But what happens when life events surpass our body's ability to be able to cope? What happens when our stress response is constantly elevated and left on? So in short spurts, cortisol can actually boost our immunity by limiting inflammation. But over time, that internal chronic stress decreases the body's lymphocytes, the white blood cells that help fight off infection. High stress levels also can cause mental emotional angst, which can lead to higher levels of inflammation too. And one study found that exposure to chronic stress actually changes the activity of the genes of immune cells, making them more likely to attack the own body's tissue and trigger an autoimmune response. But there's something else too. There is evidence that something as bizarre as what's happening in your mind can influence your immune system. And this goes back quite a few centuries, this idea. The first evidence for this was this wonderful study back in the 1800s. And they reflected on people with a rose allergy. And they proceeded to wave an artificial rose in front of the subject's noses as they suddenly started sneezing. And that's not because it was a rose, but because of what they call psychoneuroimmunology, a tongue twister, hey? But basically the subject's immune system, their inflammatory system in this case, was tricked into an allergic sneeze. So what is psychoneuroimmunology? And quite simply, it's how our psychology or our thoughts or our mindset can impact your immune system. That sounds pretty crazy, right? Our mind is in control of our immune system. Okay, well, it's complicated. Our thoughts and emotions create a cascading effect of hormones on a physiological process in the body. So no, it's not all in your head, But by controlling our thoughts and bringing ourselves back to those deep belly breaths, those self-care routines, we can help to mitigate that stress response that causes to surpass our immune system. What I really want you to take away from today is that stress in acute situations can actually be healthful and protective. However, without nipping it in the bud before this stress response is on replay and becomes chronic, it can actually cause some pretty significant health problems and nasty symptoms. This is why self-care is so important. There's so much fear and anxiety and uncertainty in the world at the moment. We want to come out of the other side stronger, more resilient, and able to support and protect those in need. It's that age-old saying, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on your neighbour. And no, this isn't selfish. This is simply you giving yourself the capacity to be able to serve others by breathing life into yourself before you breathe life into others. So that's us covered from a Western medicine perspective. But now what about Chinese medicine? So acupuncture has great success at helping immunity by regulating imbalances in your body and stimulating the body's hormones and neurotransmitters to help bring your body back into good health. In a tremendously simplistic reflection, I guess, of what acupuncture truly does, but nonetheless. But really, to put it simply, if your defenses are too weak, then Chinese medicine can help strengthen them. And if your immune system is overreactive, so in the case of allergies or psoriasis or autoimmune diseases and that kind of thing, then Chinese medicine is actually able to help regulate your body's reactions to a normal level. It's basically a homeostatic medicine. And I remember being back in Nepal and being asked by some of my patients if those tiny needles we were using actually contained medicine, as they were feeling so much better, which of course the answer was no. But acupuncture, all it does is simply works to create balance in the body. Now patients walk out of my treatment room thanking me for treatment, for helping them with something that was completely debilitating perhaps. But it's entirely their own body doing that hard work, and that's something I try and drill into them as well. We are just the conduit for that change, helping to remind the body of a healthier way of being. And I hope you're with me so far, because I know, because I kind of really now want to deep dive a little further, if that's okay with you. So please know again that Chinese medicine is an intricate, poetic and philosophical art, which takes so many years, if not decades, to really truly understand. It's simply offering you a sprinkling today, and a sprinkling of that magic and wisdom that kind of holds and reflects our health and self and the world around us. I'm by no means a master, and I've done a degree already with a mountain of postgraduate studies, but that's also part of the joy. You learn and grow and evolve, and the deeper you dive into this world. So it's my hope that this inspires you somewhat to go and read up some more, and will undoubtedly get hooked, I'm absolutely sure of it. So my apologies anyway, I can get a little carried away with my love and passion for all things Chinese medicine. So onwards, back to immunity. So in Chinese medicine, we see a weakened immune system as being a result of qi deficiency. Qi deficiency in the energetic yin organs of the lung and the spleen. Qi being our vital energy and our life force. It's the flow of energy throughout our body that's essential for life, just like petrol or electricity, I guess these days, is required for a car to function and move. So essentially it's what keeps our cogs turning. In Chinese medicine, when someone is healthy and happy, we say they have good qi. So I bet you're thinking, my lungs have qi, and what the devil is spleen? What does that have to do with all of this? Well, the concept of these organs in Chinese medicine is radically different from that of contemporary Western medicine. So this next 5 minutes or so may require you to stretch your mind and your current understanding of self. But please stick with it. As I mentioned before, Chinese medicine offers such a deep understanding of self and the world around us. how everything is connected. And at this particular time, with everything going on, I feel like this is exactly the mindset we all need to adopt. So let's dive into those organ systems then, the lung and the spleen, and briefly explore their role in good health and immunity. So the lungs. The lungs occupy the uppermost position among the 5 yin organs in our body, and it's known as the canopy. They are delicate in character and the first line of defense when it comes to external pathogens. They dominate our overall qi in the body, and their main function is to govern respiration. So it doesn't take a genius to know that without that lovely life-giving breath, we would have no qi and therefore obviously no longer exist. And invasion of external pathogens, things like cold and damp and wind, can disrupt our normal movement of lung qi, which ideally descends and disperses. That's the lung function. And when this happens, we can get things like cough or a phlegm, and that all gets logged up and caught in our lungs. And left unresolved, this can actually weaken our lung qi even further. So the harmony of the lungs also determines if wei qi, our defensive qi, which I'll speak about a little bit more in a moment, is sufficiently strong to protect the body's surface from pathogenic invasion. If these exterior diseases are not resolved quickly, they enter the body and become more challenged, really more challenging to treat ultimately. So what is this defensive qi, this wei qi that I mentioned? Our immune system basically is like a protective blanket that keeps the cold, excessive heat, wind and illness away. And this is what we call wei qi. It's governed by our lungs. This is your outer defense mechanism and protective blanket, and such a large part of your immune system depends on that strong wei qi. It provides protection against those external pathogens I mentioned before, such as wind and cold and damp. But I guess, yeah, what's the best way we can look at to nourish that wei qi? So again, it's kind of nothing new from general advice. The wei qi remains strong if we do some exercise. A nice walk in some fresh air is a simpler solution. And this is good enough to open up our lungs, feed them with oxygen, which in turn will liven a healthy circulation and blood system. So this is our lungs, according to Chinese medicine, in a tiny little nutshell anyway. So let's move on to the spleen. Now, in Western physiology, the spleen is a large, vascular, lymphatic organ that promotes activities of digestion, endocrine system, nervous system, and blood system as well. That's absolutely exactly the same in Chinese medicine too, but with a little extra sprinkling of that magic I spoke about earlier. So in Chinese medicine, the spleen is regarded as the acquired foundation of life, so the source of blood and qi production. It transforms and transports nutrients from our what we call post-heaven qi, essentially all the goodness we take in and consume on a daily basis. And this is what we call yin qi. So 2 types of qi, yin qi and wei qi. And that's what we call nutritive qi, the energy that we get from nutrition. Needless to say, good nutrition is essential for a good immune system. And yin qi nourishes those internal organs and the whole body. It's so closely related to blood and flows with the blood in the vessels as well as in the channels. It's also the qi that's activated by insertion of an acupuncture needle. A nice little fact for all you acupuncture fans out there. So how does spleen qi become depleted? The spleen is affected by chronic stress and worry and anxiety. Without proper functioning of the spleen, you can really easily begin to suffer from poor digestion and low metabolism. And this is why we often get those little butterflies in the tummy when we're anxious, for example. Or why some people experience loose stools when they are stressed or worried. And these are all signs that our spleen function is a little out of whack. And also another reason why we might go for something like emotional eating, which might sound a little too familiar right now. So basically the spleen determines the abundance and depletion of the healthy energy in the body, healthy qi. So in turn it assures we are all protected against disease. So let's look at nutrition real quick. In traditional Chinese medicine, we like to suggest that foods that are in season should be the first on our shopping list. Things like garlic at the moment is a powerful antioxidant with antimicrobial, antiviral and antibiotic properties. So if you like garlic, you can throw it into everything you got going on. And ginger is also really great at the minute. It's a powerful antihistamine and decongestant and offers a great solution against any of those cold symptoms, so any of those seasonal issues kind of going on at the minute. And then throw in a blend of mushrooms as well, things like reishi in particular, which are great at stimulating and strengthening the immune system. And finally, I just want to touch on a third form of qi that I find so important, that's often overlooked when we look at immune support. It's what we call our shen, and this relates to our innermost yin organ, the heart. And this houses the mind and the spirit. When it's weak, it really affects the wei qi, that defensive qi as well. And in the classical texts of the Neijing, they state that immunity starts with the shen. And sages even said that when they had disease, they would just move their emotion and shift their emotion. This relates back to that kind of Western medical concept of psychoneuroimmunology that we spoke about before. And this is where that deep healing comes from, in the way that we balance our emotions. The idea is that healing is about being connected to oneself. So this concept of shen in relation to immunity is based on the understanding that we need to go larger and deeper in our perception of healing. It goes way beyond our conscious selves. And this is the beauty of Chinese medicine. It allows us to get a greater understanding of these complexities through a deep spiritual and philosophical sense of self, of being, and of connectedness. And our aim as Chinese medicine practitioners is to get patients to have a better knowing of themselves, a deeper authenticity and connection with life. So now we get into the fun stuff. Acupressure and my 3 favourite points for stress and immunity. So I'll be telling you how to best stimulate these points for maximum effect too. Plus, if you stick it out to the end, I actually have a super special offer for those of you who stick with me to that point. You guys have shown true dedication to self-care, and I want to show my love and gratitude for committing to that by offering you a cheeky little something that I'll tell you at the end. But first, I really don't feel like we can really go any further without exploring what acupressure actually is. So it derives from traditional Chinese medicine more than 2,000 years ago, and the fact that it's still in use today is a testimony to its efficacy in the treatment of many physical and mental health issues. So unlike acupuncture, which uses tiny little needles to stimulate acupuncture points, acupressure actually uses gentle touch to activate self-healing mechanisms. Normally qi circulates smoothly with vibrancy through the body. And blockage of this flow, or a lack of qi, is considered to be the fundamental cause of illness and pain. So acupressure and acupuncture, for that matter, help to correct these functional imbalances and restore that flow of qi, returning the body to a more natural state of well-being. It uses precise finger placement and pressure over specific points on the body, and these points follow specific channels, also known as meridians to some people, and these are the same channels used in acupuncture. And if done really regularly, this method of self-care can actually create positive, sustainable changes to health and to help minimize reoccurrence of symptoms. So have a little patience with your body. It took you a long time to get to a state that you began to start reaching out for help. So it will inevitably take some time for it to begin to find its natural balance again. So let's get into the juicy stuff, actually finding the points. So the points that we're going to be using to help calm, balance and restore that smooth flow of qi, whilst also supporting that lung and spleen function to help with our immune defense. And I developed this point protocol, something I call the glow prescription, to help with energy and vitality. But these points are used exactly the same to boost immunity too. And if you haven't already gathered our energy or our qi is directly related to that strong immunity. So when our qi is strong, our wei qi and yin qi is also strong, and those blankets that protect us from those external pathogens and disease. So the point's given to you like a little sparkle of life when it seems to have lost its luster, and help to lift and shift that stagnant energy. Not just for when you're feeling sluggish, but this point prescription is fantastic all around well-being facilitator as well. And some of the benefits of the glow point prescription that I'm going to share with you help to raise energy, lift your spirits, feel like you again. And it's also just a general health maintenance to optimize feeling of wellness, calming, grounding and balancing. So let's start to get to find these points. So that first one is what we call stomach 36 and leg of 3 miles. And the actions of this point, it's basically the earth point, so it's very grounding when we feel under mental and physical taxation. It's a key point in increasing energy. Neuro imaging studies have actually shown this point to affect the limbic and paralimbic systems in the brain, which may affect the body's response to stress. So looking into finding this point, we say it's 3 sun below the base of the kneecap on the outside of the leg and on the border of the tibia. And what the devil is a sun, you might say? Well, my lovely little lemons, a sun measurement is relative to your body and is used to find acupuncture points. Because in traditional Chinese medicine, we consider that everyone's obviously a different shape and size. So 1 sun is said to equate to 1 thumb width. And that's the thumb width if you're doing it on yourself. Or if you're doing it on someone else, then it will be their thumb width. So my top tip to find stomach 36, as this is 3 sun below the base of the kneecap. An easy way to assess 3 sun is by saying that this is 1 hand width, again, your own hand, below that kneecap. And another tip, this is really easily located by tracing a finger up the spine of the shin bone, that tibia, and when the bone begins to flare out, just roll your finger over onto the muscle. And this point may also be really, really tender. When you all you do is acupuncture all day long, and you've done thousands and thousands of hours of this, you begin to actually just start feeling the point. But these sun measurements are a great way, just initially, to get a feel for where that point is, so you can hit the point when you don't have that kind of level of experience. So our next point is kidney 3, and we call that the Great Ravine. And this is such a beautiful point. It's the point of yin and yang on the kidney channel. This is the source point of the kidney channel, so again, super duper important. In Chinese medicine, the kidney is considered to be the root of yin and yang, so it has a very homeostatic and balancing effect on the whole body. It's also the source of Jing, or life essence, as we like to call it. So stimulating this point can lift your spirit and that sense of vitality. So looking to find this point, it's actually on the inside of the foot, halfway between the Achilles tendon and the tip of the ankle bone, or the medial malleolus. So it's quite an easy one to find. So on to our third point. This is called Ren 6, or conception vessel 6, as some people refer to it. And it's also known as the Sea of Qi. And the actions of this point, basically, it really strongly nourishes the entire qi of the body, or vital energy. It's a key point in general health maintenance, as well as helping to build our core energy reserves. And this point's so good for strengthening the body after surgery, for example, or childbirth or chemotherapy. And it's also great to strengthen the function of digestion, menstruation and fertility, due to its kind of proximity to the related organs in the pelvic cavity. And so finding this point, it's on the midline of the lower abdomen, 1.5 sun below the belly button. So 5 sun from the belly button to the top of the pubic bone is you can basically split that into 5 to make finding that 1.5 sun a little easier for Ren 6. So there's one more point that I'd really love to go through with you, which helps support your spleen qi function, that nutritive energy that we spoke about before, that yin qi. But we don't have a great deal of time left, and I still have so much to share with you. So I'll tell you what, drop me an email at the end of this and I'll tell you how to access my fourth favourite acupressure point to help boost that vital energy, your innate chi, and that kind of supercharge your immune system. Great, so what now? So we know where all the points are and we know what they do, but how do we stimulate them? Well, you can simply massage these points, which I find quite meditative, and you do this on each point for 2 to 3 minutes each, every day, tweaking and changing the points according to how you're feeling and where you feel like you need that extra dose of support. This is really quick and easy, absolutely. But by adding a little something into the mix, you can supercharge those acupuncture points and get them zinging away nicely without too much effort. So I want to introduce to you 2 of my favourite ways of doing this. With the acupressure freckles, and these are natural earth magnets with a touch of vitamin C that are adhered to the skin by small circular plasters. Sorry, my cat just entered the room. This is Frankie. So basically, they powerfully but discreetly stimulate specific acupuncture points for balance in physical and mental health. The primary materials used to make the active component of the acupressure freckles have been combined for their natural magnetic and thermal potential qualities. So basically, you use a really fine powder of mica, tourmaline, germanium, and they're combined with charcoal and vitamin C to give each freckle an extra health boost. The active benefits of these freckles, they basically have thermal and far infrared ray properties. They're naturally biomagnetic and they have negative ion potential as well. And they're also bioceramic, just to top it all off. So what's not to love, right, with them? Put you down. So each freckle emits negative ions just as you pick up negative ions from being in a thick forested area or around natural running water, for example. And just FYI, positive ions are not so positive. These are the nasty little ions that we pick up from working on computers and looking at screens all day, and it's what actually depletes us of our energy. And because of the negative ion potential of the freckles, it's thought that they may help improve metabolism, promote blood circulation, and actually increase temperature around those particular points as well. So it sounds quite similar to that Wei and Yin Qi. So in short, it's a functional product to help aid health and balance in our body by gently and naturally stimulating specific acupressure points. Far infrared rays also enhance circulation in the skin and may help modulate sleep, ease pain, protect against oxidative stress, and relieve inflammation as well. These benefits are enhanced by the stone tourmaline, which actually helps healing energy by penetrating deeper whilst producing those soothing negative ions. And don't get me wrong, this is never going to be as effective as acupuncture. The magic of those little needles and the effect that they have on our body really blows me away every day. But you know, this is a beautiful self-care routine that you can really easily and effectively do throughout your day. So how long and how hard, I guess, do you press on these freckles? Well, because the acupressure freckle is biomagnetic, it naturally activates those points without the need to press or do a whole lot. But you can stimulate this point, and just to give it a little extra boost at times of stress, by maintaining gentle pressure over the freckle for 2 to 3 minutes, up to 3 times per day, for example. But I generally recommend kind of doing it just before bed and just on waking, just for ease of remembering. So if you're anything like me, you'll just forget all the time about these things. So there we have it, my 3 favourite points just to help boost immunity and mitigate that stress response, plus obviously how to stimulate them as well. And there's been such a huge amount of information that I've lumped on you today, and I really hope that you found some benefit from it and that you were able to go away and apply it. But my biggest driving force in the creation of Life in Lemons was actually to take treatment off the treatment table, to empower my patients with the knowledge and the skills to treat themselves on a daily basis. And these tools that I've shared with you today are a beautiful way for you to do just that. And I know, and I hear you, you're busy, everyone's got a lot going on, but self-care comes to the bottom of our to-do list, and I really want to change that. And what would it mean to you ultimately to take a pause and to take 3 of those big belly breaths wherever you are and whatever you're doing, and use these acupressure protocols to anchor your mind, to mitigate the stress response and overcome that overwhelm just for a moment? What would that truly feel like to you? Plus, I truly know that these points in combination with each other have such a powerful physiological benefit, way beyond simply meditative technique. And I'd love to share those studies and insight with you, so just reach out if you are interested in hearing a little bit more about it. So what's included in each pack of an acupressure freckle? So this specifically the glow one. So you get 20 acupressure freckles, that's 1 month's supply. You get 4 alcohol swabs as well to help the points adhere to the skin. You get the point prescription, the point location illustrations, and also online point location demonstrations. So it sounds pretty good, right? And I have an offer for you today too. So just for sticking with me and making it all the way to the end, I want to send you a pack of the acupressure freckles with this exact point protocol, plus that 4th and favoured point that I sadly didn't have time to share with you today. And just for the next hour, I'm offering to send this to you with a free Acuaroma roller, all for the same price as a standard pack of acupressure freckles, and that's $16.99 plus free postage if you do live in the UK. I know I've thrown something else in the mix for you today, just to complicate everything even further. Well, not many people actually know that aromatherapy was used as a huge part of Chinese medicine, and specifically to elicit physiological responses in the body, just like the needles and freckles do too. So I've created a specific blend of lavender, pine, lemon, eucalyptus and rosemary, which we use over these acupoints to stimulate them, supporting our energy, supporting our immunity, and helping to powerfully stimulate these acupoints for their greatest effect. So this is a stress, energy and immunity powerhouse combination. 1 month's supply of acupressure freckles with the Acuaroma roller as well. Both of which are simple, they're discreet, and they can be used anywhere and everywhere. So if you're super busy, they can be used on the go, or better still, in a really meditative space, a meditative practice at home, practicing those deep belly breaths. This is truly everything you need at your fingertips to powerfully stimulate those acupressure points. Everything you need to empower yourself with the skill and knowledge to develop a simple and effective acupressure home practice to help you reclaim that sparkle from the inside out. So my lovely lemons, we've come to an end, and if you take nothing else away from today, know this: change begins with you. As a very wise and beautiful friend of mine once told me, when I was really, really low and in pain, fill your own cup. Your light and energy will then be infinite and naturally spill over effortlessly to those you choose to surround yourself with. Allow Life in Lemons to help you fill your cup and create those healthy self-care rituals in your daily life. So with all my love and light at this particular time, stay safe, and I'll speak to you soon.